What's up, guys? This is Armstrong Review. I'm just here to talk about well, we all know the Mission Impossible, the new Mission Impossible is out right now, the Dead Reckoning, which I recommend go and see. Because I'm a big Mission Impossible fan. I like procedural spy dramas and everything, and action. Um, I would recommend you see the Dead Reckoning. It's an exciting thing. You already know. Everybody's talking about it. It's a good action film. Tom does it again. Say doing stuff that are fun and entertaining for the people, that's what people want to see in movies right now, especially nowadays with all the bullshit and the drama. But that I won't get into details right now. But right now I'm just going to explain about going to be talking about the Mission Impossible restaurant scene. The restaurant scene. The original Mission Impossible scene that was made in May 22nd, 1996, directed by Brian De Palma. We'll get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the first one, I recommend you not to see this review, because I'm just going to put in some detailed, semi-detailed. I try to be as big as I can. I don't want it to be boring. We'll talk about a significant plot within the movie. So if you haven't seen the first, if you haven't seen the Mission Impossible first one, I recommend not to see this review, or just take our pause, go back and watch the first film, and then come back. So this restaurant scene, I think, is very important. It's very significant. It's one of my favorite scenes, and it gets often overlooked because of a lot of people talk about the end results of the scene. But I think it's a significant scene. It's one of my favorite scenes out of the whole series, and the reason why it's one of my favorite scenes is that it showcases a good film technique that very utilizes within the essential characters, and I like seeing stuff like that. So I'll just talk about what the scene is about. Really briefly. I try to be as brief as I can. I try not to be too technical, because I don't want it to be. I don't want to get into too much details. I'm going to try to be as vague as I can. So basically, okay, let me start. So basically, Ethan Hunt has just previously got into a terrible ordeal. His whole MIF team are wiped out, and he goes into this restaurant where the MIF director Kittredge is sitting there waiting for him. So he pretty much tells him that the mission that they were going on, basically, was a decoy assignment. It wasn't a assignment that was straight and narrow. It wasn't something that was entailed to everybody. The whole mission that he was a setup so they can infiltrate a mole within the group. Because there's an arms dealer named Max who wants a knock list. And what the knock list is, which is a MacGuffin in the movie, the knock list is information on pretty much everybody that is in MIF or special agents, and all the information that they have. So if he or she, I gave away the spoiler there, but anyway, here whoever Max, if Max gets that bliss, it could be sold to whoever shady operative or whatever for a lot of money, and it can go into the wrong hands, of course, when you're selling stuff in the market. Whoever they can infiltrate, whoever is who is an agent, and eliminate them basically. So Kittredge tells Ethan Hunt this, and he's so traumatized of the event. He's so emotionally distraught, which is rightfully so. I like this scene because it utilizes which is a film technique called the Dutch angle, which originated from De Ziga Berthoff, a German expressionist filmmaker, which Alfred Hitchcock influenced was influenced by him by using this technique in various of his films, and Brian De Palma is heavily influenced by Alfred Hitchcock and Jean-Luc Godard, and then this is one of the essential things that he took his influence from. This is one of these. This is the best way. If you're getting into film, this is the best way to utilize the Dutch angle correctly. Whereas most filmmakers nowadays kind of do it over the top and use it very oversparingly. Like, this is a correct way to do it, and in a way that invokes and engages your audience. So my theory, and it's just a theory to me, what I feel that Brian De Palma was trying to do was whenever things was in the Dutch angle, where it were deep into the psyche of Ethan Hunt, and he has been so much traumatized the event and paranoia, where it seems to distort reality. Like, you know how somebody has, if you've been through like a lot of trauma and your emotion gets high, things start to be distorted in a particular way, and that you perceive information in a certain way that's probably not exactly the way it is, but because of your emotions, it distorts in a way. Particularly schizophrenia. Not exactly schizophrenia, but within the elements of symptoms of schizophrenia. But like sort of within that element of like things starts getting your reality starts to get distorted in a way. So what Brian Palmer does is he utilizes such angles to invoke that anxiety of emotions of the character Hunt. And I think that whenever things are in a Dutch angle, it's sort of like a distorted reality of what exactly is happening at that moment. Like, because whenever Kittredge starts talking in that Dutch angle, things get very violent. And I'm not saying that as in like in I'm not saying like as in like physical violence. I'm talking about like in mental violence, like in verbal violence, like the words he says and the words that he not says within those dialogues um, are very violent when he's speaking. He gets very violent within the scene. Let me just go back and read the dialogues to you. Like for instance, let me see if I can make this clear. So whenever there's a mid shot, the dialogue reads. He says like, uh, Ethan pretty much tells Trippers like, oh, so there's an arms dealer. That's right. Max is seems to have two unique gifts: the capacity for anatomy, and the corrupting substable agents. That's this time he's gotten to someone on the inside. He's put himself in a position to buy our monopolist, an operation he referred to as Job 314, the job he thought Gliston was doing tonight. And Ethan responds to say, so what Gliston stole was a decoy. And he says, correct. The actual list is safe in Langley. Gliston is a lightning rod, one of ours. The whole operation was a mole hunt. Yes, the mole deep inside, and it's said that you survived. It is said that you survived. See, when words like that, when it starts, the camera goes to a Dutch angle when Petrich responds in that way. He says, "Yes, the mole deep inside, and like you said, you survived." It starts that doesn't sound. It sounds very. That sounds very emotionally violent to the core, antagonistic, which is what is implied within that Dutch angle. I think that is the response that Ethan is receiving within that moment. But it's not, just because he's receiving a response in that way doesn't mean it's actually real. It's just I think that's what I love about this scene, because I feel that it's his own distorted reality of everything that he's going on and the trauma that he's dealing with, and this is the stuff that he feels is receiving from Kittredge, because everything that Kittredge said was true. Everything that he's saying is facts, and he's so traumatized with the event that's going on right now that there's so much stuff that he can handle, and that's what I love about this scene, because by using these Dutch angles, we're into the psyche of Ethan Hunt's distorted reality. And like for instance, then he starts saying, let's say, so like right here, when things starts getting to like an established shot, not established, a mid shot. So when things start getting to a mid shot, Kittredge starts talking very neutral. It's not. It's very calm. It's not. There's nothing within that evoke antagonistic feeling. He says, "I want to show you something, Ethan," and he shows some papers across the table, and then he says, "Copies of Wisconsin's bank account in the name of Donald Margaret Ethan Hunt. It shows a balance of $127,000." He's saying verbatim of okay, here's the facts that I got here. And then he starts saying stuff like, he talks about how, he talks about his father's death, and then he says, I know that type of stuff could be a toll on someone, and you need to, he starts insinuating that, he financially, he's in debt with financial bank accounts, and then then stuck into a Dutch angle again when Kittredge says, no, right after Kittredge says, I could understand that you're very upset. Ethan responds and says, and it goes back into a Dutch angle again. Ethan says, Kittredge, you never seen me very upset. There you go, another evoke emotion. Another evoke violent words you say to someone. And that is, he deliberately is being antagonized in that Dutch angle, you know? And then it gets back into the Dutch angle again. It's so masterful. It gets back into the Dutch angle again, where Kittredge responds, "Alright, enough is enough, punk. You're a bridge of a troll, killed and relied on enemy loyalty to get away with it and determined to shake hands with the devil. I'm going to make sure that you do it in hell." I mean, good God. He's pretty much quoting like Hamlet or something. It's very Shakespearean. You know? You will rule today. You know? So that is implied in that scene. And then when after that violent scene happens, Ethan goes takes out the gum, which is in the movie. It's pretty much a bomb that was made for the MIF team, and he throws it onto the window, and it cracks the whole glass of the restaurant, and that's where like all the water and everything pours out, and he jumps out of that and escapes. Like it's done very masterfully. It's done very masterfully done with the craftsmanship of Brian De Palma setting that type of directions and the camera and good editing, and you can hear the music rise when those depth angles are applied into it. That's why I love the scene so well, because that really sums up the whole tension and anxiety and paranoia of the film, and I think that encompasses what Mission Impossible is. I mean, it's great writing, you know. It's great writing. But the writing for Mission Impossible, the first one, was written by David Kopp and co-wrote by Robert Towne. Now, I don't care what anybody says. I think I know 100% that this is probably Robert Towne's writing right here. I know David Kopp is in the screenwriting. It has screenwriting preference in the movie, but this particular scene, it feels like Robert Towne's writing style. It feels like Robert Towne wrote this. I mean, this is the guy who wrote for Chinatown and The Last Detail. And if you guys don't know what those movies are, stop this film and go check those movies out. Those are two great films. And this is what this is. This is just so good, well written for the scene. It's a well written scene. The tension and anxiety that Ethan has to deal with on a daily basis. So that's why I love this scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in the Mission Impossible installment. I miss things. I miss movies like this. You know, that do those film tricks to invoke those. That makes you sit down and you just want to analyze it and have fun with it and pick your nose with it. But that's my theory. I think that scene was a way to, and the way to establish like some sort of emotions and the trauma within the character so the audience would see and get immersed into that, and be caught up in the paranoia of the mission, which makes it very exciting. Um, yeah, I mean, look, there's even a shot, and maybe it's an editing issue or whatever, but like it's just for like a split second when the minute he cracks that glass in the window, you see Chitrad's finger, like he's pointing his finger at him. But in the first Dutch angle shot, he doesn't look like he, especially after he says, "I make sure you do it in hell." He's not. His body is not in a distorted motion where that finger would be pointing at him. If that makes sense, he looks like he's straight and narrow. Uh, I mean, if that's not an indication to that this the whole Dutch angle that Palmer was trying to display as a emotional distortion of reality for the character. I don't know what it is. I think that's exactly what he was trying to imply, and it does very well. I think, and it resonates. It's a good. It's a very, very good scene. Not only the fact that there's an explosion and he jumps out and he runs out of there. It's cool. All that is cool. But the thing that it's the setup, it's the build up, all that is what makes the scene work for me. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. So I'm glad you guys were here to listen to my rant. Again, go back and go watch the Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to do that. I think it's going to be very action packed and very entertaining, and hope you guys enjoyed the review. Thank you, and like, comment, and subscribe. Take care, guys.